Welcome back to Financial Market Insights for Traders, where we break down financial markets, industry trends, and the key developments shaping investment opportunities. I'm Sophia, and today we're diving into a sector that continues to attract attention, investment, and debate: the cannabis industry. As we make our way through 2025, cannabis stocks remain a hot topic among investors. There's been a lot of momentum, a fair share of volatility, and plenty of regulatory hurdles along the way. But the big question we're tackling today is this: are cannabis stocks set for another big rally? Will they stabilize, or are we looking at another wave of uncertainty? To answer that, we need to look at the major developments shaping the industry, from regulatory shifts to consumer trends, financial access, and the broader economic climate. We'll break down what happened in 2024, what experts are saying about the market now, and where cannabis stocks could be headed for the rest of 2025 and beyond. Let's get into it. Looking back, 2024 was another defining year for cannabis stocks. It was a mix of optimism and frustration, as the industry made significant strides, but still faced obstacles that kept investors on edge. One of the biggest stories was regulatory progress, particularly in the United States, where new states moved toward legalization. But while there were wins at the state level, federal reform stalled once again, leaving the industry in a legal gray area. Despite this, international expansion kept the industry buzzing. Countries in Europe, Latin America, and Asia continued to open their markets, especially in medical cannabis, creating new revenue streams for global cannabis producers. Meanwhile, North America remained the dominant player, with Canada's matured recreational market continuing to influence investment strategies and cross-border partnerships. On the corporate side, we saw a wave of mergers and acquisitions. Some of the biggest cannabis companies sought to strengthen their market positions, looking to scale operations, reduce costs, and improve profitability. But at the same time, high operational expenses and financing challenges led to consolidation, forcing smaller players to either merge or exit the market. Revenue growth was another key theme of 2024. Leading cannabis companies expanded product offerings, with edibles, beverages, and pharmaceutical-grade cannabis gaining traction. The trend of premiumization also took off, with consumers gravitating toward higher quality products over mass market options. But let's be real, cannabis stocks were still incredibly volatile. Macroeconomic factors like inflation, rising interest rates, and investor risk appetite played a huge role in the stock price swings we saw throughout the year. The cannabis sector remained high risk, high reward, with moments of big gains followed by sharp corrections. So, what are analysts and industry experts predicting for 2025? Well, opinions are divided. Some see significant upside potential, while others warn that without major regulatory breakthroughs, growth could be slower than expected. Goldman Sachs is cautiously optimistic, suggesting that if federal legalization or financial reforms progress in the U.S., we could see a major rally in cannabis stocks. On the other hand, Morgan Stanley points out that the biggest near-term opportunity lies in medical cannabis and pharmaceutical integration, particularly as more research supports cannabis-based treatments. Meanwhile, ArcView Market Research estimates that the cannabis industry will continue to grow at a rate of 15 to 20% annually, with the US and Canada leading the way. Jeffries highlights that product innovation and international expansion could be key drivers for stock performance. And BofA Securities is predicting that cannabis stocks could outperform broader markets, especially as institutional investors gain confidence in the industry's long-term potential. One thing is clear: the industry's fate is still closely tied to regulation. If we get meaningful legislative progress, such as federal legalization in the U.S. or major changes to banking restrictions, cannabis stocks could experience a surge in investor interest. But if political delays continue, the market could remain choppy. Now, let's talk about the factors that will shape cannabis stocks in 2025. First, there's consumer demand and shifting market trends. Cannabis consumption is evolving. People aren't just looking for flower anymore. Edibles, beverages, vapes, and medical cannabis products are growing categories. The push toward cannabis for wellness and therapeutic use is also expanding, with more consumers using CBD and THC products for pain management, anxiety, and sleep disorders. Then we have macroeconomic conditions. Interest rates, inflation, and overall market sentiment will impact how much capital flows into cannabis stocks. If borrowing costs remain high, companies that rely on financing for expansion may face challenges. However, if the Federal Reserve starts cutting rates later in 2025, we could see renewed investor interest in growth stocks, including cannabis. Another key factor is competition and market consolidation. With more players entering the space, competition is heating up. But at the same time, mergers and acquisitions are helping create stronger, more efficient businesses. Some of the largest cannabis companies are working toward profitability over pure growth, which could make them more attractive to investors. And we can't ignore banking and financial access. One of the biggest issues cannabis companies face in the U.S. the inability to access traditional banking services. If we see movement on cannabis banking reform, it could unlock major capital inflows, making it easier for companies to expand and scale operations. Finally, international expansion remains a big opportunity. Europe, Latin America, and parts of Asia are gradually legalizing medical cannabis, creating new markets for North American producers. Global cannabis trade agreements are still in their early stages, but as more countries regulate and import cannabis products, we could see big revenue opportunities for multinational cannabis corporations. So, where do we go from here? In the best case scenario, cannabis stocks skyrocket as federal legalization moves forward in the U.S., financial barriers are lifted, and institutional investors pour into the market. Companies report strong earnings, expand into new markets, and secure long-term profitability. In a more moderate scenario, the market grows steadily, but with incremental progress. Some states legalize cannabis, medical cannabis use expands, and companies stabilize operations through mergers and cost cutting. Growth continues, but without explosive stock gains. And in a bearish scenario, regulatory delays and financial struggles keep cannabis stocks volatile. Without federal reform, companies continue to grapple with high taxes, limited banking options, and pricing pressures. If economic conditions tighten, investor appetite for cannabis stocks could shrink further. For those looking to trade cannabis stocks, CFDs, contracts for difference, provide a flexible way to take advantage of price movements without owning physical shares. Platforms like crystalballmarkets.com offer leveraged trading, short selling opportunities, and real-time market access to navigate stock market volatility. So, what's next for cannabis stocks? The industry is growing, maturing, and facing challenges all at the same time. The upside potential is there, but so is the risk. The key for investors and traders is to stay informed, track regulatory developments, and adapt to market shifts. That's it for today's episode. If you found this discussion valuable, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with fellow traders and investors. Until next time, stay informed, stay ahead, and keep an eye on the cannabis market.